Psychopathic epidemics reflect, first of all, the prevailing views of the masses of the people of a given era, a given stratum of society, or a given locality. But there can be no doubt that the immediate impetus for the development of those epidemics are suggestion, mutual suggestion, and autosuggestion. The epidemic spread of so-called demoniacal possession in the Middle Ages undoubtedly bears all the traces of the popular beliefs established at that time about the extraordinary power of the devil over man. Nevertheless, it is also indisputable that the development and spread of these epidemics is largely due to the power of suggestion. Mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages remain one of the most mysterious pages of history. Today, we know that this is more a manifestation of mental illness than demonic possession. However, this does not detract from the significance of these events and does not negate the need to study them. Studying mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages helps us better understand how the human mind works and how social beliefs are formed. It also reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and a scientific approach to exploring the world. Demonic possession could also involve entire monasteries and communities. On Trinity Day in 1644, Dargan, that was the name of the demon who possessed the sister of the small monastery of the Holy Spirit, undertook for 4 hours the most terrible demons imaginable, and this in order to prevent the girl from receiving the Holy Sacrament. All the time he subjected her to terrible convulsions, threw her to the floor several times, forced her to do hundreds of jumps, run around the church hundreds of times, push and knock people down. Merciful God, what amazing moves, what strange contortions, what frenzied twisting, what frequent and intense convulsions in such delicate creatures and under such repeated terrible sufferings. I would be ready to agree, I assure you, with the opinion of reasonable people who want to explain all these convulsions by illness, and all these terrible movements and somersaults by buffoonery. But what clearly proves otherwise, to which there is no objection, and which is loudly recognized by the best doctors, is the utter impossibility that convulsions, especially such intense ones, are a natural consequence of the disease. Illness or obsession. For a long time, it was believed that mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages were the result of demonic possession. However, modern research shows that it was more likely a manifestation of mental illness, such as major hysteria. The first person to describe the symptoms of great hysteria was Dr. P. Rich, a student of J. M. Charcot. He worked at the Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris and observed patients suffering from hysterical seizures. Symptoms included body fluttering, seizures, jumping, screaming, and strange movements. Another Dutch doctor, Herman Burgave, also studied mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages. He came to the conclusion that this was more a manifestation of mental illness than demonic possession. Burgave proposed an original way to stop mass hysteria among the orphanage children. He placed large cauldrons with red-hot iron hooks in the rooms and announced that if someone had a seizure again, he would be branded. This helped to stop the mass hysteria among all orphans. Russian scientist Vladimir Mikhailovich Bekhterev also studied mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages and came to the conclusion that this is a manifestation of mental illness. He argued that mass mental epidemics reflect the prevailing views of the masses, and that the immediate impetus for their development is suggestion, mutual suggestion, and autosuggestion. Psychopathic epidemics reflect, first of all, the prevailing views of the masses of the people of a given era, a given stratum of society, or a given locality. But there can be no doubt that the immediate impetus for the development of these epidemics are suggestion, mutual suggestion, and autosuggestion. The epidemic spread of so-called demoniacal possession in the Middle Ages undoubtedly bears all the traces of the popular beliefs established at that time about the extraordinary power of the devil over man. Nevertheless, it is also indisputable that the development and spread of these epidemics is largely due to the power of suggestion. Mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages remain one of the most mysterious pages of history. Today, we know that this is more a manifestation of mental illness than demonic possession. However, this does not detract from the significance of these events and does not negate the need to study them. Studying mass mental epidemics in the Middle Ages helps us better understand how the human mind works and how social beliefs are formed. It also reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and a scientific approach to exploring the world. It all started when one woman, Frau Trophea, went outside and started dancing. She couldn't stop dancing until she was exhausted. Soon other people joined her, and the city was engulfed in a wave of unrestrained dancing. The city authorities were alarmed by the growing number of dancers. Social and religious leaders suggested that more dancing would be the solution to the problem, and organized guild halls where dancers could gather. However, this only made the situation worse, and eventually about 400 people became obsessed with dancing. Some of them died from overwork. The event of 1518 has been the most thoroughly documented, but it was probably just one of several similar outbreaks that occurred in Europe between the 10th and 16th centuries. The most famous eruption occurred in 1374, when the dancing plague swept through several cities along the Rhine River. Modern explanations for the dancing plague have included demonic possession, blood overheating, and other theories. However, researchers from the 20th century suggested that ergot, a fungal disease that causes seizures, and eating bread made from contaminated flour could be the cause. American sociologist Robert Bartholomew hypothesized that the dancers were adherents of heretical sects who danced to attract divine favor. However, the most widely accepted theory was that of the American medical historian John Waller. Waller suggested that the dancing plague was a form of mass psychogenic disorder that occurs under stress and is based on the fears of local residents. In the case of the dancing plague of 1518, Waller cited famine, smallpox, and syphilis as the main stress factors that Strasbourg residents suffered from. He also claimed that there was a local belief that those who could not appease Saint Vitus, the patron saint of epileptics and dancers, would be cursed and forced to dance. What is a mass psychogenic disorder? Mass psychogenic disorder, MPD, is a condition in which a group of people experiences similar symptoms that have no physiological explanation. These symptoms may include dizziness, nausea, weakness, loss of consciousness, and even seizures. The causes of MPD can be different, but they are usually associated with severe stress, fear, or anxiety. In the case of the dancing plague, the stress was probably caused by famine, epidemics, and other factors that cause fear and anxiety among the residents of Strasbourg. How can the MPR explain the dancing plague? If we assume that the dancing plague was a massive psychogenic disorder, then we can explain some of the features of this event. For example, why did people keep dancing despite being tired and exhausted? Perhaps they felt they had to keep dancing to avoid being cursed or punished. Why did the city authorities decide to organize guild halls for dancers? Perhaps they were trying to help people cope with stress and fear by offering them something to do that could distract them from negative thoughts. However, despite all these explanations, the dancing plague remains a mysterious event that arouses interest and controversy among historians and researchers. We may never know exactly what happened in Strasbourg in 1518, but studying this event can help us better understand the nature of mass psychogenic disorders and their impact on society.